The power and precision of a dual boiler with an intuitive, easy-to-use interface, a compact machine with prosumer-grade components and modern functionality from a legendary Italian manufacturer. Hey coffee lovers, Mark here from Whole Latte Love with the all-new Classic GT, the first ever true dual boiler espresso machine from Gaggia. I gotta tell you, this is a really exciting achievement for the brand. It's a best value dual boiler that doesn't skimp on features or build quality. 100% made in Italy, the GT does everything you could possibly want it to. It's got two PID regulated boilers, time of day turn-on programming, super fast heat up, externally adjustable brew pressure, and some seriously consistent extraction temperatures. It also has super unique low-flow pre-infusion capabilities, manually set the timing for soft active wetting of the puck at 3 grams per second, as well as a soak time for full saturation. Beyond that, it has a 3-year warranty and US-based tech support from our experts, should you ever need it. You're definitely going to want to stick around to see this one. You know, for decades, the original Classic has been the definitive best value in entry-level espresso machines, with tens of thousands of users worldwide and a lively online community of enthusiasts. Whether you're a Classic lover ready to level up or you're just looking for the best value dual boiler espresso machine around, the GT here, yeah, it's the real deal. Coming up, we'll have a full breakdown of what the GT is truly capable of. I'll go in depth on that unique manual pre-infusion, share performance testing results for heat up time, brew temperature accuracy, and multi-shot stability using real-world in-puck measurements, and we'll cover milk frothing. Plus, channel favorite Todd, my good buddy, is going to join me as we take a look at the internal build of the GT, plus all the accessories and equipment you'll find in the boxes, as well as a few extras I'd recommend picking up. Before we dive in, a quick plug for the channel. You know, we put out a lot of great content, from in-depth product reviews like this one to helpful educational content, weekly live streams on coffee and espresso, and community posts. If you want to make sure you don't miss a moment, you should really subscribe and enable those notifications. I sure would appreciate it if you did, and I think you will too. All right, let's get to it. Compared to your traditional E61 group dual boilers, the Classic GT is pretty compact. It's just over 10 inches wide, about 16.5 inches deep, and under 17 inches high. Wrapped in a thick, single-piece stainless steel housing, it's really solid. A removable 2-liter water reservoir gives you ample water for consistent brewing. Up top, the GT features a large screen with capacitive touch control. It's one of the most intuitive displays I've used on any semi-automatic machine. It's big, clear, and super easy to read, and I really like how it shows you both the program temperature and the current temperature while heating. The interface gives you full access to the GT's extensive programming options, including time of day turn on, settings for pre-infusion, and much more, which we'll get to in just a bit. Up front, a suite of toggle switches in order. They power the machine on, operate manual pre-infusion, initiate brewing, dispense hot water, and toggles temperature of the steam boiler. Each is surrounded by an indicator light. The brew pressure gauge, that's up front and center, easy to monitor during an extraction. The drip tray on the Classic GT is versatile. In its default configuration, you get a healthy 4.5 inches of clearance, plenty of room for a scale or to brew directly into big cups for drinks like Americanos or larger lattes. When brewing straight shots, slide the drip tray out and raise it up to reduce distance between the spouts and an espresso cup. On the right, the steam valve and fully articulated single-hole steam line, plus access to the adjustable OPV. Now, that's a feature I absolutely love and don't see often enough, even in prosumer-grade machines. You know, some people really like playing with the brew pressure, and this setup makes doing that super easy. Internally, the GT is powered by a 3.68-ounce lead-free brass brew boiler and a 0.9-liter stainless steel steam boiler. Each is regulated by a PID. You can set brew temperature in precise degree-by-degree increments, while the steam boiler has 4 presets to increase or decrease steam pressure. The steam boiler also has a clever feature I've yet to see on any dual boiler machine, the ability to turn off steam mode and lower the boiler temperature so you can still dispense hot water even when you won't be steaming milk. I love this feature for Americanos. You know, on most dual boilers, you can only turn the steam boiler off entirely to save energy, and when off like that, you can't dispense hot water. The GT, it heats up fast. In under 5 minutes, it's ready to brew, and it's ready to steam milk about 3 minutes later. As far as I know, it's the fastest true dual boiler warm-up time out there. Of course, you can always program it to turn on in advance, but if you need an espresso out of the blue, the GT, it's not going to be holding you back. Programming is accessed via the large upward-facing display. Symbols there are clear and intuitive. Navigation simple. The main display shows the current brew boiler temperature setting and current boiler temperature when it's heating. Pressing the plus and minus buttons adjusts brew temperature anywhere from 176 to 212 Fahrenheit. Pressing the gear icon enters the setting menu, then touch plus and minus to scroll through the options. The check mark enters a menu and confirms selection, and the arrow is going to take you back. First up, automatic pre-infusion. It can be set to one of 3 levels optimized for light, medium, or dark roasted coffees. Next is the wake up timer, which has 2 submenus. One sets a time of day and the other sets your turn on time. From there, you've got standby mode, which turns the machine off after a specified period of inactivity, and eco mode, which shuts off the steam boiler to conserve power. Lastly, you've got menus for button sound toggling, temperature unit selection, and the steam boiler temperature, which is settable to 248, 257, 266, or 275, depending on how much steam pressure you want. If you won't be steaming, turn off the steam toggle, and the boiler runs at 235 degrees so you can still get hot water out, but at a lower temperature. The Classic GT has unique low-flow manual and automatic pre-infusion capabilities. For those, you get a soft pre-infusion of the coffee at 3 grams per second. Now, there are other machines with programmable pre-infusion modes, but this is the first I'm aware of at the prosumer home level, which reduces the flow rate automatically for pre-infusions. Others just turn the pump on at full pressure. On the GT, the low flow can fully saturate a coffee puck prior to full pressure brewing. For manual pre-infusion, press and hold the pre-infusion toggle and the pump starts the low flow. In the display, a timer starts for this stage. Maximum infusion time is 20 seconds. When you release the toggle, a separate timer starts for the soak phase, which continues until you press the brew switch for a maximum of 15 seconds. When you press the brew switch, both those timers remain and a third shot clock starts for the extraction timing. Automatic pre-infusion uses the light, medium, or dark preset as selected in the settings. You choose by the roast level of your coffee. To use them, press the pre-infusion toggle briefly. When you press the brew switch, the selected profile runs automatically, after which standard brewing proceeds. The profiles run 6 seconds pump on, 6 seconds soak for the light setting, 4 and 4 for medium, and 2 and 2 for dark. To run an extraction manually with no pre-infusion, just make sure the pre-infusion toggle light is off and briefly press the brew switch. The extraction continues until you press the brew switch again. Extractions can be volumetrically programmed if desired. To do that, press and hold the brew switch until preset appears in the display. When you have the volume desired in your cup, press the brew switch again, and the volume of water dispensed is going to be stored. Next time you press the brew switch, you'll get the same volume of water from the pump. This programming, it is by volume and not time. So a couple of things to be aware of. If you change your grind size or your coffee dose, it's likely your shot timing will change as well. And since the volume of water is metered prior to the OPV, if brewing pressure rises beyond your set pressure, it's possible a subsequent shot could finish shorter or longer than intended. The volume preset, it's going to be saved even if the machine is turned off. To toggle between manual and preset volume brewing, press and hold the pre-infusion and brew switches together for a few seconds. The display will say preset when idle and preset brewing is on. Coming up, detailed results for brew temperature testing using in-puck temperatures during a series of actual extractions. We'll find out how accurate they are to PID settings and how quickly you can pull extractions back to back and maintain consistent temps. I'll have results for milk frothing steaming times as well, water added during steaming, and recovery after steaming, plus find out how long that steam lasts. We'll also look at cup warming, surface temps, and more. But the basics first. The Classic GT is rated at 1400 watts. It uses a 15-bar pump. Now, actual brew pressure is controlled by an externally adjustable OPV. Most users are going to want to set that to 9 bar, but pop in the included backflush disc and use a screwdriver to quickly adjust higher or lower as you like. When you turn the machine on from cold, it's going to be ready to brew in about 5 minutes and ready to steam milk about 3 minutes later. A couple of notes on that. The machine has a fast heating cycle, so if you're going to pull a shot 5 minutes after turn on, you'll want to give it a 3 to 5 second flush before pulling a shot for perfect temperatures. If you pull a shot at 10 minutes after turn on, no flush is needed as the machine will have stabilized from initial heat up. If you always want to walk up to the machine and brew, use that time of day turn on so it's heated up and ready to go for you. So I did 2 series of 10 extractions using a K-type temp probe mounted into a stock Gaggia filter basket. This measures the actual temperature within a coffee puck during a real extraction. I used a 1:2 ratio with 15 grams in, so 30 grams of espresso out. Shot timing averaged just under 30 seconds for the 20 test. Temp data was logged at 1 second intervals. The temperatures I'll report, they are the average of log temps during each extraction. The brew temp setting for all 20 tests was 200 Fahrenheit. So here are the results of the first series pulled with no flushing at about 2.5 minute intervals, beginning at 5 minutes after turning the machine on. So that first shot, yeah, it's hot. As I mentioned, if you're gonna go in 5 minutes, do a short flush. I didn't for that one. After that, 5 shots in a row with all but one of them within a degree of the 200 set brew temp. Honestly, this is remarkable performance for a series of shots at 2.5 minute intervals. On the last 4 shots, temps, they did drop a bit as I tested the thermal reserve of the brass boiler and group head, but that pace of use is highly unlikely for this type of machine. For the second set of 10, I turned the machine on 20 minutes before use, what you might do if using the automatic time of day turn on. 15 minutes after turn on, I did 3 extractions as I dialed in a new coffee. About 6 minutes later, I started a series of 10 test shots. For these, I varied interval times a bit. Again, no flushes were used during any testing. As you can see, the first 6 shots with interval times ranging from 3.5 to about 8 minutes were nearly perfect. To me, this sequence replicates a more typical home use pattern. I shortened the intervals for the last 4 tests to about 2 minutes. Here, those temps dropped a bit, but I have to say, pulling shots at an interval of 2 minutes from the end of one to the start of the next after already doing 6 in a row is way outside a normal use case scenario. Bottom line, in my testing, the Classic GT is capable of 6 near-perfect brew temp shots back-to-back with no flushing needed at intervals as low as 2.5 minutes. Now, I've reported the interval times and average temps here. If you'd like to see the full second-by-second results and uninterrupted video of the test, there's going to be a link for those down in this video's description. To measure steaming performance, I use our standard test that's based on the SCA method, timing how long it takes to froth 5 ounces of fridge temp milk to higher than 140 Fahrenheit, which is 60 degrees Celsius. Did the test 4 times and also measured how much water by weight was added during steaming. The average time for steaming across 4 tests was right around 20 seconds, and water added by weight was about 13 grams. That's an increase of about 9%. Both of those are excellent results, with steaming times just a few seconds longer than some of the best performing prosumer level machines, and water added of below 10% is as good or better than well-regarded machines I've tested. The GT steam is powerful and dry. When doing the steam testing, I was going to look at recovery times, that is how long the machine takes to get back to full steaming power, but it honestly really wasn't necessary. Recovery is essentially instant with that large steam boiler. Just for fun, I opened up a steam valve and let it rip and rip for 5 continuous minutes. There was no observable change in steam power. The boiler even added some water a couple times during the 5 minutes with no visible change in steam velocity. It's looking like you could pretty much steam indefinitely with no loss of performance on the GT. You know, I do like the single hole steam tip. People have preferences on hole counts, of course, but for me, the single hole tip allows you to easily find an angle that introduces a vigorous roll and produces a fine latte art quality microfoam. Cup warming surface is very warm, so if you like a hot cup, the GT has the numbers for you. It reaches near 140 degrees, that's 60 degrees Celsius, at an ambient temp of 70 Fahrenheit. Already got Todd with me. Todd, I always love going inside machines with you.
Yeah.
We've been doing this for like 10 years. We've got the GT, so let's take a look at what's going on here. Kind of start with the frame, right?
Sure.
I mean, this thing is a beastie frame, really thick.
Yeah, it's more than a 16th inch thick frame.
Stainless steel.
All stainless steel. It's welded and formed, beautiful. Probably the heaviest frame we have out of all our machines, prosumer machines. Now in the back here, we'll look at this first. This hooks up to your water reservoir. The water comes down into this T, goes through the flow meter, then into the pump for the brewing. So that leads right to the brew boiler. The other part of the T leads over here to the pump here for the steam boiler for filling that. So it's 2 separate pumps. Up on top here, here's your steam boiler. I want to show you a few of the things here. Now here's your probe for your fill. This controls the water level in the steam boiler. Over here, we have a brass fitting. I'm going to flip this around so you can see it better. This brass fitting, there's the water goes 3 different places. One is the steam here, comes out from your vacuum leaf valve down into the tube, the blow-off tube into the drip tray. This one here is for your safety valve. If it ever overheats, it blows the steam out of there into the safe, down the tube into the drip tray. And this one leads over to your steam valve.
We like seeing this setup up here where any internal moisture is going to be vented outside of the machine.
Exactly. Keeps all the connections good and safe. Mm-hmm. Now on top of the machine, we have your temperature probe there. Mm-hmm. Now these are the wires for your heating element. This is a prototype, so these will be covered up with the plastic fittings when the new machines arrive.
Okay.
Yep. Down the side of the boiler here, you'll have 2 high limits. And now down here is a probe for your hot water setting.
Right, because you can turn down the steam boiler if you're not going to do steaming really, and have it run at a lower temperature.
Yeah,
and that's the temperature probe for that one.
Yeah, better for Americanos.
Yeah.
So the top temperature probe is for when you're at full steam pressure.
Right. Mm-hmm. And then up top, we're taking the hot water off here. Now there's a tube that goes down to the bottom of the boiler, right?
Correct. Yep.
For that.
Yeah, which is nice also. If you ever want to drain the boiler, there was a way you can do that. It'll suck all the water right out of here.
Really easy.
And you can drain the boiler. Mm-hmm.
We'll talk about the brew boiler in that respect in a moment.
Yep.
The valve, the steam valve over there, right?
Okay, yeah, the steam valve. Another custom part by Gaggia. You notice I like to put the G on there.
Yeah.
So that's a casting made just for them. It's a really nice steam valve. It's a sprung valve, very easy to service. You just pull this cotter pin out here. You can take this apart, replace the seals, the spring, lube it up.
Yeah.
So we really like this valve, and it works really nice.
Beautiful.
Okay. Up front here, we have the brew boiler, all solid brass, very similar to the ones used in the Gaggia Classic. Mm-hmm. So the main difference on this one is that it has a fitting on top here, mm-hmm. and that leads to this capillary tube, which leads to your brew pressure gauge, which is right in front of the machine. So you get the brew pressure right in the boiler.
Okay, yeah, very, very close to brewing, right? Mm-hmm. A lot of times that's way back by a pump in a machine.
Exactly, and you have a temperature probe right in here for your the temperatures in your brew boiler.
That's for the PID system.
Mm-hmm. Now over here, here's a solenoid valve for your hot water dispensing, which comes from this tube, which leads to a drip tube that goes all the way down to the bottom of the steam boiler. Mm-hmm. And then over here, down there, you have your 3-way solenoid valve. And that's for relieving the water pressure off the coffee puck when you're done brewing.
So you get those dry pucks? Mm-hmm. All right.
Another really cool feature about the Gaggia Classic is you can actually drain the brew boiler just by removing the shower holding plate. The shower holding plate, this fits up inside the brew group, and there's your shower screen, and there's an O-ring there, and that's what seals it. So if you take out the 2 bolts here, 5 millimeters, take this out, all the water will drain right out of a center hole out of the boiler.
So do that when the machine's cold.
Yeah. Always make sure the machine's cold when you do it, or it's going to be really hot.
Yeah.
And that's great if you want to drain the boiler for storage, or you just feel like draining the boiler to see what's in there. I mean, it's
absolutely.
It's easy to do.
And then over here we got some, so we took a quick look here at the component carrying all the toggle switches, the brew pressure gauge, you got the electronics over here.
Yeah, there's a control board. And then in the back of this is your capacitive sensor for your water reservoir.
So the reservoir slides on the other side here?
Water reservoir slides in here. When the water hits there, it'll sense the water and let the machine know that it can operate.
All right.
Now over here you got a really nice steam wand, as you can see. And very easy to access that. Once you get this top off, you can undo this nut and you can pull this whole thing out if you have to.
All right.
I don't know why you're going to have to, but...
Yeah, in case you need to. I mean, I think the point is here, very serviceable, nice components, right?
Everything's very well made and very well organized and set up.
All right, Todd, thanks so much for taking us through the new GT. We're really excited about the machine here. Out of the box, the Classic GT comes with 11-gram single and 18-gram double-shot filter baskets, as well as a backflush disc and a nice Gaggia logo stainless steel tamper with a real wood handle. For maintenance, Gaggia recommends backflushing once a month, depending on your use level, so pick up a product like Ernex Cafeza or some of their Coffee Clean tablets. Both those products can be used for cleaning portafilters and filter baskets as well. Preventing lime scale is very important in all dual boiler machines. Use only water that's been softened to reduce calcium. For that, we recommend products from BWT Water & More, including in-reservoir and pitcher-based options. Use those as directed and you'll have the mineral level needed for good flavor, removal of chlorination, and no scale deposits. Of course, great espresso starts with quality whole beans, ground fresh. The Gaggia MDF 55 is an espresso-focused 55 millimeter flat burr grinder, which pairs well with a GT. High-end brewing of specialty-grade single-origin coffees is enhanced with the GT's precision brew temp control and pre-infusion capabilities. A single-dose grinder like Chiato's 64 millimeter E6C Chameleon will help you take full advantage of the GT's advanced features. And that's the grinder I used for all my testing. For whole bean coffees, check out our locally roasted single origin beans and more traditional Italian style blends as well. For consistent brewing, you're going to want an espresso scale. The Varia Accu series are excellent choices with mini, standard, and pro models to cover those doing just espresso, right on up to those using multiple brew methods. To dress up your setup, get naked with a bottomless portafilter available in a variety of custom wood options. You know, naked shots are not only beautiful, but help improve your technique. And if you don't already have them, don't forget accessories like a frothing pitcher and knockbox. You know, the Gaggia GT here is more than just a landmark achievement for a company that's been designing industry-defining espresso equipment for nearly a century. It's the most accessible dual boiler around in terms of price, ease of use, and capabilities. The extensive feature set includes a time-of-day turn-on, quick heat up, low-flow manual and automatic pre-infusion modes, super accurate brew temps, excellent steaming performance, and the list goes on. You know, just last week, I got a call from the daughter of an old friend. She and her husband were longtime users of the original single boiler Classic and looking for advice on an upgrade to a dual boiler. They wanted temperature precision and, of course, a simpler workflow with simultaneous brewing and steaming, and they had a specific budget limitation. You know, at the time, I was just finishing up a week of pre-release testing of the GT. There were a couple of dual boiler options, just a little over their budget I could have recommended, but I was really impressed with my test results and the GT's difference-making features. It's got more going on for it than other dual boilers, and the GT was well within their budget. You know, I advise them to hang tight because in just a few weeks, the GT would be available, and it really does check all the boxes for them and really for anyone ready to dip their toes into the prosumer pool. From where I'm standing, the GT here, it's a home run. Gaggia has absolutely succeeded in making their mark on the dual boiler landscape. As always, if you have questions on the Gaggia Classic GT or anything coffee and espresso related, use those comments and I'd be happy to get you a detailed answer. Thanks for watching. I'm Mark, and if you love coffee and espresso as much as I do, be sure to subscribe to the channel and enable those notifications so you don't miss out on more of the best on everything coffee, brought to you by Whole Latte Love.